In this video, we're going to show you how to give constructive feedback using what's called the SPARK model. Now, the word feedback, if you're not familiar with it, it just means comments. But, when you give feedback on someone's assignment, the whole goal is to help them make their work better. So just going through and finding all the mistakes, that's not really constructive feedback. We want to give feedback to help them to improve the work that they've done. So here's the SPARK model. The S in SPARK stands for specific, P is for prescriptive, A is for actionable, R is for referenced, and K is for kind. Now, first of all, there's specific feedback. We want to make sure that our feedback is specific enough that they can help to meet that goal of making their work better. It's not enough to just say, hey, good job. Good specific feedback refers to a particular part of a person's work, maybe a word or a phrase or a particular section. You can see our friend on the screen saying, tell me how. That's exactly what good specific feedback is supposed to do. It tells the other person how they can improve their work. We also want our feedback to be prescriptive. This is kind of like going to the doctor if the doctor writes you a prescription. It's because that's a plan for you to improve. If you follow these steps, you'll get better. That's the same kind of a thing that we want to do with our feedback for our classwork that we're checking for our classmates. We also want our feedback to be actionable. That means we want to give them a list of steps that they can follow to make their work better. You can see it's a lot like the checklist that's up on the screen. We also want to make sure that our feedback is referenced. You make sure that our comments match with the guidelines for the assignment. It's kind of like if I had this assignment to stitch up this design and I get a bunch of feedback about how my sentences are all wrong and I didn't spell a whole bunch of words correctly. That's not reference feedback. The comments need to go along with what the guidelines of the assignment are. We also want to make sure that our feedback is kind. That just means it's given in a supportive way. So here's a few phrases you might use when you give feedback to your peers. You might say something like, I like the way you, or did you mean to say this here instead of this? Or maybe instead of saying this, could you have said it this way instead? Questions are a good way to give feedback. Or could you explain a little more about why you chose this particular example from the text? You can also make some statements, things like, a way to improve would be, or I'm confused about who they are in this sentence. So let's look at what the SPARK model looks like in practice. So we're going to look at this passage here about football. And anytime you give feedback out to a classmate, what you want to do first is just read over their work a few times. So I'm going to take a minute and do that. And after I've done that, then I'm going to go in and I want to give them some feedback. So I want to start out with an I like statement here, because everybody likes a little positive feedback. I really liked the way you stuck with the topic of why you love football. And when I read the first sentence here, it says, what I'm doing best is like playing football. This is where I might use a question, because I think they might mean to say something different here. I might say, do you mean what I like best is to play football? That's a way we can give some question feedback, mainly because it is one of my best sports. So we've got a couple examples here, because and sports that are in text language. So I'm going to make a comment down here. Please do not use text language. Then when I go to the second sentence, football is a physical game, of course, but is the mental aspect that I appreciate the most. So I think they might mean something different other than is the mental aspect here. Again, I'll ask a question. Do you mean it is the mental aspect? that I appreciate the most. The first time you make contact with other players, you get very sore. So I think when I'm saying contact, oh, there it is. And you can see I gave me the correct spelling there. Let's say spelling contact. That's how you spell that word. With other players, you get very sore. So I think this is a case where they have the wrong verb there. So I might say, do you mean you get very sore? After a while, you develop mental discipline, which allows you to ignore some of the pain so you can go all out. That's how you win those games. Looks like he's got another piece of text language in here. I want to help him, remind him about. Please don't use text language. Then because I want to make sure that the feedback that I've given is actionable or that this person can do something with it, I'm just going to make a little list of my comments here. So I'm going to say avoid text language in your writing. Check sentences 1 and 3. Make sure they sound right. And check spelling. I might give a couple examples here. He's got the word contact. It's not quite right. There, but that's how you can use the Spark model to give your classmates some good positive feedback and also help them to know specifically how they can improve their work.